The Galactic Dominion had fought countless species into submission. From the crystalline Sarti to the flame-born Urek, none had withstood the sheer might of Dominion elite squads, bioengineered killers trained in microgravity combat and armed with weapons that melted neutronium. That's why, when reports emerged of a problematic human on Karsus 9, High Strategos Varn didn't even bother reading past the first 3 lines. "Send Omega Squad," he barked. "Subdue and extract." No one questioned it. Omega Squad, 6 genetically perfect warriors, were deployed with surgical precision. Dropped via stealth pods, they landed near the settlement where the human was last seen. The area had already been cleared by orbital bombardment. Nothing remained but scorched black rock and a few shattered metal structures. Except, the human was still alive. And he was waiting. His name was Caleb Rourke. Born in the Appalachian wastes of post-climate Earth, forged in the fires of humanity's extinction-level disasters, and hardened by 30 years as a colonial mercenary. He was not your average biped. When the sky had exploded and Karsus 9 turned into a burning pit, Caleb hadn't run. He stayed behind to protect the locals. Primitive reptilian farmers who couldn't understand his words but understood kindness. He'd fought off drones, disabled a Dominion scout transport with nothing but an old mining laser and a smirk, and patched up his wounds with duct tape and nanogel. Now, as Omega Squad approached, Caleb stood in the middle of a ruined clearing, wearing half a suit of scavenged Dominion armor and sipping something from a metal flask. "What is he doing?" whispered Vrex, the team's infiltration specialist, from the treetops. The sniper, Thresh, focused her scope. "He's drinking." "He's what?" The squad leader, Durrell, activated his voice amp. "Human, you are ordered to surrender. Failure to comply will result in your neutralization." Caleb didn't flinch. He took another swig, capped the flask, and tossed it over his shoulder. Then he said it. "Hold my beer." What followed was a masterclass in absolute chaos. Caleb moved like no being the squad had ever encountered. He wasn't fast by Dominion standards, but he was unpredictable. Instead of fleeing, he charged, ducking between cover, flinging improvised grenades made from mining charges and oxygen canisters. Vrex went down first. Ambushed by a collapsing storage tower Caleb had rigged with tripwire and momentum anchors. Then Thresh screamed as her perch detonated, courtesy of a delayed chemical charge hidden in a corpse pile she'd overlooked. Her sniper rifle clattered from the branches before she could finish her cry. Omega Squad regrouped. 4 remained. "He's using old-world guerrilla tactics," hissed Durrell, activating his thermal optics. "No," muttered the squad's tech specialist, Kryn. "He's using redneck cunning." The squad laughed, until the ground beneath them detonated. Caleb hadn't been trained by any military academy. His training came from bar fights in gravity anomalies, jungle wars over spice routes, and fistfights with space pirates in airlocks at 3% atmosphere. And he hated bullies. The Dominion hadn't just invaded Karsus 9. They'd raised it. Women, children, elders, none spared. Caleb had held dying hands and stared into eyeless faces begging for help in a language he couldn't speak. That kind of horror rewires your soul. So yeah, when they dropped Omega Squad on him, he took it personally. Inside the Dominion flagship orbiting Karsus 9, High Strategos Varn frowned. His squad's vital signs blinked out one by one. The human wasn't just resisting. He was winning. "How is this possible?" Varn growled. The science officer nervously pulled up a profile. The human species demonstrates unusually high adaptability and erratic strategic thinking. He may be improvising beyond predictive parameters. In other words, Varn snapped, "We underestimated him." The officer nodded. "We'll see about that." On the surface, Durrell and Kryn found themselves cornered in a slagged fuel depot. The squad's medic, Gyro, was bleeding out from a shrapnel wound in her thigh, having triggered one of Caleb's souvenirs, a claymore built from scrap metal and explosive gel. Kryn checked the sensors. "We're being hunted." "No," Gyro whispered. "We're being toyed with." Caleb's voice echoed from hidden speakers. "Hey fellas. Y'all Dominion types like puzzles, right?" Durrell spun. "Where's that coming from?" "Rule of 3, Caleb's voice said. 3 tunnels. One leads to freedom. One's a trap. One's full of bees." "Bees?" Kryn blinked. "Explosive ones," Caleb clarified. "Good luck." Suddenly the tunnels lit up in rotating patterns. Kryn panicked and dove into one. Durrell hesitated, cursed, and followed. They should have gone left. From orbit, Varn watched the biosigns vanish as the tunnel exploded in a glorious plume of fire. "Enough," he snarled. "Send the Colossus." The Colossus wasn't a person. It was a 10-meter-tall bipedal war machine with quantum shields, a mini-singularity cannon, and an AI core mapped from a psychopathic warlord's brain. It landed with a seismic boom, shattering the surrounding landscape. The AI inside activated, scanning for threats. Target, human. Threat level minor. Initiating suppression protocol. Caleb had already seen the thing incoming from the optics tower he'd rebuilt. He scratched his beard. "Well, butter my biscuits." He retrieved a final package from under the floorboards of the ruined town hall. His emergency stash. The good stuff. Inside were 3 EMP canisters, a vintage anti-armor railgun, and something even more precious, a detonator linked to a satellite array he'd hacked days earlier. He ran toward the Colossus, dodging plasma fire and explosions, climbing buildings like a squirrel on meth. The Colossus locked on. "Goodbye, human." Caleb skidded to a halt, raised his hand, and clicked the detonator. In orbit, Dominion technicians screamed as the hacked satellite array redirected a solar flare, focused through abandoned Terran tech, and blasted the planet's surface like a wrathful sunbeam. The Colossus melted in a second. In the center of the blast zone, blackened and smoking, Caleb emerged. His beard was singed, his eyebrows gone, but he was still alive and laughing. The Dominion pulled back. Officially, they claimed strategic repositioning. Unofficially, they were scared out of their armored boots. One man had just dismantled their best squad, destroyed their superweapon, and hijacked ancient technology using duct tape, charisma, and spite. A memo circulated through Dominion Command. Avoid direct engagement with human outliers. Threat level reassessed. Severe. In case of encounter, do not engage. Instead, evacuate immediately and report any known possession of alcoholic beverages. Weeks later, back on Earth, Caleb sat at a frontier bar, scarred but satisfied. A journalist approached. "You really took on an elite squad alone." Caleb shrugged and took a swig. "They started it." "What was going through your mind when they landed?" Caleb leaned back, boots on the table. "I figured it was gonna be a hell of a fight. So I handed my drink to a scared little alien boy who thought I was gonna die, winked and said." He raised his glass toward the camera drone now floating overhead. "Hold my beer."